Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street School. As you can already tell by the title, this will be an August 15th training camp notes, quotes, and big time cuts, man. They hurt my heart with one of these. Curtis Samuel's back. Kelvin Harmon is gone. And of course, we got to discuss everything important that went down in practice today. And there's always a little bit more than that afterwards as well. Y'all know how these videos go, man. Y'all already know the program, man. We're going by position the whole way through, of course. But before we get into the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you check out the rest of the channel. All of my videos are organized in playlists. I even have a comedy playlist for all of my funny videos. Make sure you go check out my De'Ami Brown film session I just came out with, working on more of the rookie class coming up, trying to get as many of them done before the regular season. I'm excited. Let's get it. All right, first of all, we got to talk about the cuts and the ads. First of all, veteran running back Lamar Miller, the ex-Pro Bowler, has been released. And people do have to remember, I mean, he was only here because we had injuries like Antonio Gibson towards the end of last season. They were like, we might as well bring him back and let him compete. It seems like even if he's not getting outplayed yet, it's just like how we released Adrian Peterson so Antonio Gibson can be better, get more reps in practice, get more game reps. It's kind of the same thing with Jared Patterson and Peyton Barber, mainly Jared Patterson over a Lamar Miller. But even in comparison, I think Jared Patterson just looked even better than Lamar Miller in that preseason game. Everybody ran the ball pretty well, but Jared Patterson just looked different. Also, we claimed tight end Caleb Wilson off waivers from Philadelphia. So just another tight end to add to the group. And then they also cut cornerback Chris Miller, which is interesting because they had to take the roster from 90 to 85 to 80, and then it's 53. And I'm excited to know that Torrey McTyer survived the cuts. They cut Chris Miller, kept Torrey McTyer. We'll see how long he makes it. Still a long shot for him to make the 53-man roster, but with him making plays after play after play after play ever since that Friday night practice at FedEx Field, man, he has to be turning heads. And then, of course, the last and main cut that I have to talk about today is Kelvin Harmon. And poor guy, man, because, I mean, he got hurt. He missed out on his opportunity last year when we were really short on receivers for him to just go out there and ball out. If he never got hurt last year in the offseason, he would have had plenty of opportunities to show what he could do because, I mean, we were just searching anywhere for receivers last year. We were just throwing out any old body. And it's just sad because now the wide receiver group is just so deep and competitive, and he was just the odd man out, man. So even though his cut overall isn't surprising, I'm surprised they did it after one preseason game. I felt like they should have at least given him the second and third preseason games and let him work some with the ones before they cut him. Because before we even got to the preseason game on Thursday, everything I kept hearing about him at camp was like he catches everything. But he has been getting third team reps in camp exclusively. I mean, he doesn't even work with the second team. So that's one of the reasons that I'm not too surprised the writing was on the wall. But I definitely feel like they should have at least given him the second and third preseason game. You know me, man. I'm a big Kelvin Harmon fan. I did feel like he deserved to be one of the top 6 or 7 wide receivers that makes the team. I believe he has so much talent. He had arguably the best hands out of our entire receiving group 2 years ago, even with Terry McLaurin on the team. And then he had one of those injuries where after surgery and that stem cell research and all of the advanced science that we have nowadays, he's like quicker and slightly more explosive than he was before the injury. So I just thought this was his time to show out, but apparently not. I could definitely see him going to another team and balling out, though. A team that isn't as competitive at receiver like we are. Somebody gives him a real chance, especially a good quarterback. I think he can easily be a wide receiver 2 or 3 on somebody's roster. But our receiving group right now is so competitive, he's not even 6 or 7. And I just think ultimately with Cam Sims being a tall possession receiver, with Logan Thomas, John Bates, and Sammis Reyes, you got to remember tight ends count as well. They are possession receivers, red zone threats, so he kind of just got niched out, and they prefer to have guys that can separate, I'm assuming, to get one of those last 1 or 2 wide receiver spots. Because if you think about it, it's Terry McLaurin number 1, Curtis Samuel number 2, Adam Humphries number 3, in my personal opinion, I think De'Ami Brown is already above Cam Sims at 4. Then you have Cam Sims at 5. Those are the automatics. But then you have Antonio Gandy-Golden, Steven Sims, DeAndre Carter, and Dax Milne fighting for that last 1 or 2 spots. And special teams contribution matters. If you can return, especially as well as a DeAndre Carter can, that helps him a lot. And then I even liked what I saw out of Dax Milne in preseason. And then AGG was drafted by this organization last year, and you just can't teach his height. And he had that one slight flash where that 2-point conversion, I thought it was a 2-point conversion. I thought it was a catch. And he finally showed you why, like, his height matters and why they drafted him just a little bit. Hasn't had a great training camp, but he has those random flashes, and it's just like Kelvin Harmon just got boxed out. There's guys that can contribute in multiple ways, again, like Steven Sims, Dax Milne, DeAndre Carter, in the special teams as a returner, which is also highly competitive right now. And then you have Cam Sims, who can contribute on special teams, like in kickoff, not even returning. He's one of those guys that gets down there and forces a fair catch and things like that. Like he's just, or making a play when they don't fair catch and bringing the punt returner down. So just Kelvin Harmon not being able to contribute in multiple ways outside of just being a receiver on offense definitely hurt his chances. And at this point, again, for reasons I've given you with the special teams being able to contribute in multiple ways, I think Antonio Gandy-Golden's chances of making this roster are very slim for the same exact reasons. These tall guys, you know, you can't teach Antonio Gandy-Golden height, but they're getting niched out with Sammis Reyes, John Bates, Logan Thomas, all showing that they can be dependable passing threats, especially on third downs and in the red zone. And then you already have Cam Sims. I think they prefer to go with somebody that not only can separate on their own with their route running, with their speed, with their quickness, but also can contribute in special teams. You got to be able to play multiple positions on this team. We've seen with how deep this roster is, even with Sadiq Charles being able to play both guard and tackle as a backup. Tyler Larson will more than likely beat out Keith Ishmael for that backup center spot because he can play both guard and center. This is a highly competitive team. It's one of those teams, man, we wish we could have more than 53 players because it's so much talent we're going to lose. And just to make this team, you got to be able to play 2 or 3 positions. Because if you're just going to be a straight up, just pure receiver like a De'Ami Brown, you got to at least be able to play X, Y, and Z. But that just shows this culture change that Ron Rivera has brought. You can't just be good at one thing. Last year, and especially the years before that, we had guys we just hoped they would be good at one thing. Now you got to be good at least 2 to make this team. But moving on, you also have some injury updates, and the biggest one, of course, is Curtis Samuel has been taken off of the PUP list, and he will be slowly worked back in, but that's great to hear. We were worried about him possibly not even playing week 1, but now that he's already off the PUP list, we have a few weeks until week 1 even gets here. I'm pretty sure he's going to have at least a couple of weeks of like real 11-on-11 training camp practices to get all the way back into the offense, gain chemistry with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and get up to speed with Scott Turner's offense that he already has a lot of experience playing in, but practice can only help. Now, again, they said they're slowly working him back in, so he's not a full go yet, but it's just nice to hear that he's out there and not just on the sideline doing individual stuff all day, every day. Also, along with Curtis Samuel, Kyle Allen finally came back from injury, so I'm assuming he'll definitely play in the next preseason game. The reason Steven Montez basically got an entire half to himself was because Kyle Allen was hurt. And both Kyle Allen and Curtis Samuel were in full pads this morning, but Curtis Samuel only participated in individual drills, not team drills, while Kyle Allen was back as the third quarterback working in 11-on-11s and everything. And then also, Tamarick Hemingway is in concussion protocol. Don't exactly know what play it happened in the preseason, but his chances of making this team are awful right now. I mean, he had arguably between him and Dustin Hopkins the worst performance out of our entire team in that preseason game on Thursday against the Patriots. So then to also have a concussion, it's really dark for him right now. Now we're moving on to all of the notable plays and moments from practice today. And you already know we're going to go position by position, starting with quarterback. First of all, the defense dominated. I mean, Taylor Heinicke had his worst day of practice of all time. There were 6 interceptions today, and Taylor Heinicke was 5 of them. I mean, we've talked about him not being a good practice QB, but like, that's ridiculous, man. I know the type of game that he has is better suited for actual real gameplay, with him like making plays with his legs, off schedule plays, improvising and things like that. But like 5 interceptions in practice is still unacceptable. We already knew that it was between Taylor Heinicke and Kyle Allen who's going to be the number 1 backup quarterback, and Ryan Fitzpatrick just has a huge gap on all of them for the starting QB position. So we already knew that. But like, this didn't help Taylor Heinicke's case at all. He's still probably above Kyle Allen on the depth chart. At least I hope he is, because I don't like Kyle Allen at all. But like, man, this was a horrible day for him. And then even beyond just his 5 interceptions, he also threw a pass out of bounds, like just super wide from DeAndre Carter on a route one play that he was fairly open. Should have been an easy completion, but Taylor Heinicke was just super inaccurate today. So it's not even just like his only bad passes were those 5 interceptions. He just had a really bad day overall. Meanwhile, Ryan Fitzpatrick only had 1 interception to Jamin Davis. We'll talk about that in the linebacker section. But he made some really good throws today. He had a nice deep 30-yard throw to Terry McLaurin with Landon Collins in coverage. And then he also had a really nice rainbow sideline throw to Terry McLaurin in double coverage along the sideline. And of course, I mean, Terry McLaurin going up there and snagging it the way he did, it was more of an impressive play for Terry McLaurin than Ryan Fitzpatrick, but it was still a really good throw. And that's what we love to see from Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's going to give our guys a chance to make a play. That's why Terry McLaurin is actually going to be a realistic and dependable fantasy football option this year, because Ryan Fitzpatrick gonna throw it. You just got to go up there and make that play. And I love the fact that not only is he trying, but they're succeeding in practice now. He's throwing it up there. Again, double coverage. Terry McLaurin's coming down with it. That's trust, that's chemistry, and that's especially what we need for this offense to be explosive and to keep this defense off the field, man. Now, the offensive line, I mean, the most notable thing is that Eric Flowers and Wes Schweitzer are both pretty much getting even work with the ones. That's still one of the most competitive training camp battles right now. Who's going to start at left guard? They both look really good. And I mean, it's really neck and neck. Maybe Wes Schweitzer has a 51 to 49% advantage if you just had to apply some points or percentages to it, but it's neck and neck. Wes Schweitzer has one bad day. Eric Flowers is a starter. But it doesn't seem like Wes Schweitzer is ever going to have a bad day. So Eric Flowers is going to have to go out there and look like Brandon Sheriff to win that spot. Also, just an update on Samuel Cosme's great preseason debut. The only rookie offensive tackle so far in preseason with at least 10 pass blocking snaps and 0 pressures are Dylan Radunes of the Titans, Dan Moore Jr. of the Steelers, and our Samuel Cosme of the Washington football team. Great company to be in. Shouts out to Dylan Radunes. I like him, man. Then the tight ends. Of course, with Tamarick Hemingway out of practice and probably like hidden deep within the depth chart at this point, even if he were healthy after that preseason performance we just got from him. And it's not even like in the preseason he had a terrible performance and everybody else was just straight. Everybody else impressed mightily and gave you more than what you expected from him. Even like Logan Thomas, who I think is going to be a top 7 tight end, that play he had with Ryan Fitzpatrick was amazing. So not only did Tamarick Hemingway have a terrible day, but all of the other tight ends had great days. So, I mean, he just got buried within the depth chart, I'm assuming. When we come out with that next unofficial depth chart, he better be at the highest 4th. But now with Tamarick Hemingway out of the way, Sammis Reyes got a lot of work with the twos today, and I'm super excited again. If I had to list off the players I'm most excited about, because obviously Terry McLaurin, Chase Young, and guys like that are going to do what they're going to do. I'm hype about them, but I'm not necessarily excited about their potential because we know they're going to go out there and ball out. But the guys I'm probably the most interested in are Jamin Davis, De'Ami Brown, and Sammis Reyes. And Sammis Reyes is easily number 1. Probably not even really that close in my opinion. Jamin Davis, because of how important of a role he could potentially fill on this defense. De'Ami Brown, not only just because he's going to be fun to watch, but just also that trash talking he brings, that Pierre Garçon type of attitude. And then Sammis Reyes, y'all know, man, I love my freak athletes. I love taking a ball of clay that you just need to mold into a future All-Pro. That's the definition of a Sammis Reyes. And also, even with him working with the twos, you can see, again, going from the 3s and the 4s to with the 2s now, that he's become a better blocker. So he's going against better defensive linemen and still looks even better. That's just how much he's progressing day by day. And that preseason game definitely helped. Got a little bit of in-game experience, got some jitters out of the way, and now he could just focus up and develop what he needs to develop and keep progressing, keep moving forward. He even had one block today where he literally sealed off the left side of the defense, like literally just set a wall, and Jared Patterson was able to just have a nice little easy 4-yard gain. And he's even getting better with his technique. That's the main thing, because he has all of the athleticism, he has all of the physicality. Remember, Ron Rivera said he may be our most physical blocker on the team, not even just out of the tight ends group. The entire team. That's even including Brandon Sheriff. He's up there with him as far as physicality goes. So once he gets the technique down, which he's working on, he's getting better day by day. That's huge. Because once he gets the technique down, it's over with. His footwork, his hands, is all of that, and he's far ahead of where he used to be when he first got here. Also, Pro Football Focus gave him a 76.2 run blocking grade in the preseason. That is 4th amongst all NFL tight ends. And I also love that Sammis Reyes was one of the last people off the field after practice. He caught around like 400 balls from the jug machine after practice was done. He wants to be great. And he was like catching passes that were kind of like out of his range. He wants to learn how to use his height better. He has to learn how to be able to stretch his body out and to be able to catch those passes at the tip of his fingers. But he's working on that. And then also, before we leave the tight end section, there was one play where we had 5 offensive linemen, 3 tight ends, and Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissic as the split backs. I love that. I love that for like goal line, or if we just need to get a yard or two. We're going to be able to bully people. We're going to maul people. We're going to just out. I can't wait. We're going to be such an intimidating force on both defense and offense, because with that formation right there, John Bates, Sammis Reyes, and Logan Thomas out there blocking, you can't convince me we can't pick up a yard or two, no matter what defense we're going against. And I love that. I love the fact that Scott Turner, again, is getting really creative and really random with his formations. I mean, we can go super pass heavy, and then we can also go extremely run heavy right here like this. But at the same time, remember, not even that long ago, really since like just this year, because last year was the first time we've had a dual threat tight end in forever in Logan Thomas. Now we potentially have 3. So even in this run heavy formation, you still have 3 receivers at tight end and 2 receivers at running back if you want to throw the ball out of this formation to confuse defenses. You get in this heavy run set and then you throw the ball, you have 5 guys capable of catching it. And that's not even including the 1 wide receiver out there at the time. More than likely Terry McLaurin. Now the running backs. Ooh, I forgot one. Jared Patterson is easily in my top 4, but he's probably 4th out of my top 3 players I'm most excited about watching, especially preseason and training camp wise. But we're not on Jared Patterson just yet. Before we get to Jared Patterson, Antonio Gibson hit Deron Payne with a Rhiannon Walker called it a mean spin move to avoid a tackle and run for another 10 yards. So we don't have to worry about the toe with Antonio Gibson. He's full go. We even saw it in preseason. He was out there making people miss. So he's ready to go, man. No worries on my end about Antonio Gibson anymore, for sure. I mean, I already stopped being worried like a couple of weeks ago. But like what I saw in preseason and then hearing that he did that to actually low-key one of the most athletic guys on our team, Deron Payne, I'm not worried. Now to my boy, Jared Patterson. I love the fact that he finally got some run with the first team today. Yes, sir. Now, Chase Young did gobble him up on one play, but I just love the fact that Jared Patterson, after his preseason debut, is finally getting some reps with the ones. He's basically just been with the 3s the majority of training camp. After what he did in the preseason, they're like, all right, okay, Jared Patterson, let's see what you can do with the first team offense against the first team defense. Let's see what you're really about. And even with just Lamar Miller gone, now Jared Patterson is also getting carries with the second team, along with J.D. McKissic, and then Peyton Barber is getting work with the third team. So it sounds like Jared Patterson, unless it's just an experiment, may be ahead of Peyton Barber on the depth chart. He may be one of the top 3 running backs like I think he should be. But that's so beautiful to hear. He went from getting reps with the 3s to now getting a lot of reps with the 2s and even some reps with the 1s today. Oh man, it's destiny, man. He's about to make this 53-man roster. Him and Sammis Reyes, I think, for real, honestly, you just don't let guys like that go. Somebody's going to immediately pick them up. I mean, we let them off waivers, and I'm pretty sure some GMs have a notification set on their phones if those 2 guys end up off the team, and they will get picked up. Do not put them on a practice squad. Don't dangle them out there for somebody to snatch them, because they will. And then most importantly, I mean, him getting reps with 1s matters a lot as well. But the most important note from Jared Patterson today is the fact that he's getting very good at pass protection. Remember, that's why Antonio Gibson could rarely get out there on third downs early in the season, because he was a liability in pass protection. But Antonio Gibson's already worked on that. We don't have to worry about that anymore. But Jared Patterson, still in his first training camp, is able to block fairly well. He had a really good day at pass protection. He even stoned linebackers on back-to-back one-on-one reps. So that's huge. What he did in the preseason definitely increased his odds of making the 53-man roster, but him being able to pass protect is probably even bigger than what he did all in that one preseason game. It's huge, man, I'm telling you. And then the wide receivers, not too much to talk about. I mean, Terry McLaurin's going to do what he does. Adam Humphries, same there. Cam Sims, and everybody's just generally having a really good camp overall. Nobody's really just having a bad camp. Even Kelvin Harmon was having a really good camp, and he got cut early. So that just lets you know how good the receivers have been all throughout training camp. But today, Dyami Brown had a fantastic play. First of all, it was a great throw from Ryan Fitzpatrick over the shoulder. Great concentration from Dyami Brown and route and speed to beat William Jackson down the field. But then his dumb self started to celebrate and trot before he even got to the end zone. Landon Collins snuck up behind him and popped the ball out before he even crossed the goal line. So that's a fumble and that's a turnover. I can't even imagine how much Ron Rivera was cussing Dyami Brown out after that play, man. I couldn't even imagine, man. So that's a big no-no, Dyami Brown. I mean, if anything, the fact that you beat William Jackson shows that you could definitely potentially be our second best receiver on the team, even better than a Curtis Samuel. Maybe not early on, but definitely eventually. But then a boneheaded play like that is why you would be 5th on the depth chart right there. Because if anybody cares about discipline in the NFL, Ron Rivera is definitely part of that top percentage of coaches that, like, things like that do not just get swept under the rug. Ron Rivera will never forget that play, and he'll definitely keep it in mind, because if Dyami Brown does something like that again, he's in big trouble. And then the D-line, James Smith-Williams, still making plays. One Taylor Heineke pass was batted up into the air at the line of scrimmage, and James Smith-Williams was able to come in and get under the ball for the interception. Ron Rivera and several coaches have been speaking highly of James Smith-Williams since we added him to the team last year in 2020. He just didn't really play it all last year because of injuries, but now he's healthy and he's starting to make plays and develop. Remember, he's the one that they say can play interior defensive line and edge rusher. So that's great depth. Again, to make this team, you got to be able to do multiple things, or you got to basically be a Pro Bowler / all pro if you're only going to do one thing. You know what I'm saying? You got to be elite at that one thing if you're only going to do one thing and make this team. But you have a James Smith-Williams that, again, can be the backup for a Jonathan Allen and a Chase Young. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy versatility. And then lastly, before we leave the defensive line section, David Bada has been balling. He had a crazy debut in the preseason. That's such a great story to hear. Him going from international pathway player, where the NFL allows you to have 91 players because they know usually a lot of those guys aren't worth getting rid of one of the 90 guys on your roster. I mean, it's that severe of a situation. Teams just don't want to take up one of their 90 roster spots for one of these guys. And that used to be David Bada. Remember, Sammis Reyes, we didn't even bring him in as an international pathway player. He was originally a part of that program, but we were like, nah, he has too much potential. We're going to sign him immediately. Whereas David Bada was not looking good in the beginning. All last year, he was not looking good, but they saw potential in him, and he's finally starting to show it. He not only looks like he belongs on the main 90 roster, but he also looks like he belongs on the main 53. I mean, he is really showing out, stringing together multiple days in a row. Started with the preseason, and now is going into practice. I mean, he literally pushed a lineman right into Kyle Allen for a sack. I mean, he's having a great past week. Now the linebackers, and this is just all Jamin Davis as far as anything real notable to talk about. He had an up and down game, some highs and some lows, because he got beat terribly by J.D. McKissick on a route early in the day. I mean, it's J.D. McKissick though. I mean, not many linebackers in the NFL can cover him, so I can't be too mad at him, but at the same time, we expect you to play like a Pro Bowler, all pro, with even Ron Rivera comparing you to Luke Kuechly, so you definitely got to work on that, but it'll definitely come with time. But then he had a nice pass breakup on a pass that Fitzpatrick tried to throw to Dyami Brown. And then he had a very athletic interception in the end zone when Ryan Fitzpatrick tried to throw it up to Logan Thomas. He tried to throw it over Jamin Davis's head, and then Jamin Davis with that crazy vertical was able to go up and intercept the pass. That's just one of them plays that he may be the only linebacker on our roster that could have made that play type of thing. Definitely shows some of his vertical right there. But then soon afterwards, Ryan Fitzpatrick delivered a beautiful pass to Cam Sims against Jamin Davis coverage in the middle of the end zone. So again, just some up and down moments, but he's starting to at least show flashes, because at first we weren't really getting any flashes. We were just getting, all right, he looks pretty good, he looks decent, and then there were lows. Now we're getting highs with the lows. So that's pretty decent. That's some progress there. And if he can learn how to cover the skill positions on this team, he can cover skill positions on any team. I mean, the speed, the versatility from the running backs, tight ends, and receivers on this team, and Jamin Davis can figure it out against them, he can be able to cover pretty much anybody in this league. Like I said, I think he has the potential to be a Travis Kelce eraser like Levante David did in the Super Bowl. And then I just did the DBs together because they had a crazy day today, man. Everybody was getting interceptions today. Kendall Fuller, Torrey McTyer, Khaleke Hudson, Jamin Davis, Cole Holcomb and Tim Settle all had deflections. Jimmy Moreland, Danny Johnson, Troy Apke, James Smith-Williams, Jamin Davis, and Torrey McTyer all had interceptions. And if you notice, Torrey McTyer and Jamin Davis are the only two that had both deflections and interceptions. Joe Walker had a forced fumble, and then Shaka Toney and DeVaro Lawrence had what would have been sacks if we were able to actually touch the quarterback. But you know, we're going against each other. We don't want to get anybody hurt. I mean, it was just an interception, a turnover, and a sack party all day today. But we're in the DB area, so I just wanted to highlight that Torrey McTyer, Jimmy Moreland, Danny Johnson, even Troy Apke ate up today. Kendall Fuller, everybody was having fun today, man. And then even speaking of Troy Apke, he's actually progressing as a corner. And I do not want him to ever step into a real regular season, postseason NFL game at corner for us, because if we get to that point, it's ugly. But he's definitely easily a better corner than safety. That's not saying much, but it's definitely a huge difference. Still not good enough for me to want him to go out there and do it in a real game that matters, but he's good enough to where you could definitely see him making the team because of his special teams contribution. Until like a Derek Forrest or a handful of other guys can just like completely dominate in special teams, Troy Apke is more than likely going to make this team as a great special teams coverage guy. Him and Cam Sims go down there and make plays. I'm sorry. That's why Jared Norris has made the team. You don't want Jared Norris playing linebacker, but he's so good in special teams, he'll make the team. And Nate Kaxer and really any special teams coach in the NFL typically gets like a handful of players that makes the team just for special teams. He gets to pick a select few. And I'm pretty sure Troy Apke is somewhere at the top of the list. So do not be surprised if Troy Apke makes his team. But most importantly, as far as DBs go, Samus Reyes, Jamin Davis, Jared Patterson, De'Ami Brown, that was all cool and all. You know what I'm saying? I'm hype about them. But my boy Benjamin St-Juste today played almost exclusively with the ones. Kendall Fuller was in the slot the majority of the day when they played with the ones. Benjamin St-Juste has been getting work at outside corner with the ones a lot in training camp, but it just keeps growing in percentage. And today was easily the most he ever played outside corner with the ones in a practice. I love it. The trajectory is showing that he may for real end up being a week 1 starter outside corner. Nothing's for sure, but today was definitely his biggest leap forward in potentially making that a reality, man. I mean, he may literally start at outside corner against the Chargers. Then special teams, of course, with Dustin Hopkins having such a terrible day against the Patriots, of course, Ron Rivera had to address all of that. He said, quote, he's our kicker. And he said that he doesn't even plan on bringing competition for Dustin Hopkins. So that's crazy. I mean, being a kicker is like mostly mental. He's just trying to show that he has confidence in Dustin Hopkins so he can work it out. And Rivera also said he didn't want to put too much blame on Hopkins because he thinks the holder and the long snapper, all of them have to develop a better rhythm so Dustin Hopkins can become a more consistent kicker. I mean, Dustin Hopkins has done this year after year. He looks awful in the beginning of the season. Then in the middle of the season, he makes kicks you don't expect him to make, and then he misses kicks that should have been just easy ones. And then by the end of the season, he starts making kicks at a level of consistency where you're like, well, you know, we'll see what he does next year. No, we can't have that this year. We're actually trying to do something special, trying to repeat as NFC East champions, and we're even trying to go to a Super Bowl. That is a realistic possibility for us. We're definitely not favorites in any way, shape, or form right now. But like Dustin Hopkins, we can't afford for you to lose us games. He has lost us games over the past few years, like literally single-handedly. I mean, technically nothing single-handed in football, but like obviously if he made at least 1 or 2 kicks in a few games where he missed several, we would have won those games. Like we just can't have that this year, Dustin Hopkins. Figure it out, man. Now, granted, he is going through a lot right now. He's losing some close ones. I'm not sure if it's friends or family. I just heard that like some people have died from COVID recently and then somebody else is having complications. So I feel for him. But hey, man, it's football. Get out there and produce, man. If you need to sit out, then sit out. But whatever's going on in your personal life, I'm sorry, it can affect football on the field. And then notable quotables before we get up out of here. Ron Rivera reiterated that his guys will play preseason, so our starters will more than likely play an extensive amount of time this next preseason game, even more than they did against the Patriots. I'm excited to see that. Ryan Fitzpatrick in the ones and Chase Young with the defense with the ones may be able to play an entire quarter. And then Samus Reyes has some pretty interesting quotes today. First of all, talking about his first game action in the preseason, he said, quote, I think I gained a lot of confidence knowing I can be out there and hold my own, unquote. And that's big. I mean, he finally got to see, okay, This is what the NFL is like. I'm going against another team that isn't as concerned with my safety. I can hang with them. You know what I'm saying? The physicality of the game, we can't do too much in practice, but this is preseason. So we're hitting for real, and I'm out here bullying people, blocking guys 5 yards away from where he originally was, taking them completely out of the play. So Samus Reyes, if anything, that preseason game not only helped his chances to make the 53-man roster, but most importantly, it gave him more confidence. In pro sports, even more so for basketball than even football, confidence is a huge part of it. Huge. He also said, as far as his physical work in the blocking game, he said, quote, "I wish I could say out loud what I say to myself, but I think that would be inappropriate. I might get fined." So I love that. Whatever he's telling himself in his head when he's blocking people is working, and apparently it's nasty. And then lastly, Reyes said that he's been trying to work on combining his physicality and his technique with his blocking. And then he even said the result will be beautiful. I love the fact that it was worded like that. That's pretty funny. That's something I would say. But I love the fact that he's aware of exactly what he needs to work on, what his strengths are and what his weaknesses are. He needs to bring them together to turn into this future all-pro tight end I truly believe he can be. And then lastly, a couple of random things before we get up out of here. Brandon Sheriff landed number 98 on the NFL Top 100. Even though I felt like he didn't play at a first-team all-pro level last year, that's still some hate, bro. He was one of only 3 guards to achieve both 80+ pass blocking and run blocking grades from Pro Football Focus last year. And how are you first team All-Pro but ranked 98th on the NFL Top 100? That has to be like a first in NFL Top 100 list history. That has to be the record for the lowest spot on the NFL Top 100 after being a first team All-Pro. It has to be. And then Chase Young, he also got hated on. Maybe not as bad as Brandon Sheriff, but he's 61st on the NFL Top 100 list. And then lastly, my boys Tay and Todd at the Tay and Todd podcast. Make sure y'all follow them on Twitter. Go check out their YouTube. They do excellent work, man. Big endorsement for me, man. They out there doing it. But like, I wanted to acknowledge this tweet that they put out there, and they were basically talking about how the pathway to 10 wins for this 2021 Washington team. They say we will probably have to go 4-2 against our NFC East rivals. We will also have to go 4-2 versus the Chargers, Atlanta, New Orleans, Denver, Carolina, and the Rams. And then we will have to go 2-3 at least against Buffalo, Kansas City, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and Seattle to be able to achieve 10 wins. And when you put it like that, that sounds pretty tough. I'm not going to lie. That sounds even tougher than I thought before. But again, I think we can do it. I think we can go 10-7, 11-6. I think our team is going to be really good this year. It's all up to what Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to do at the quarterback position because everything around them is solid. This is easily the least amount of holes we've had on this team since probably our 91 season when we won the Super Bowl. I'm not necessarily saying it's the best team, but if you're just looking at the overall roster, the complete 53-man roster, top to bottom, the least amount of holes that we have and how competitive all of our position groups are, this is the deepest and most complete team we've had since we won the Super Bowl. So I'm excited, and I think we can figure out how to get 10, 11 wins this year, but when you put it like that, it does sound pretty crazy. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Of course, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Big shouts out to all of my sponsors. Big shouts out to everybody that donates to the channel, and a special shouts out to all of my Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolled on the screen right now. Man, again, I really appreciate all y'all. Go check out that De'Ami Brown film session. More rookie film sessions on the way. Also, make sure you pull up to all of my preseason, regular season, and postseason live streams throughout this year. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.